Hello and welcome to the video lecture associated with recovery and restarting procedures. So, it really depends on your backup system. So whatever means you're using to do a backup will directly affect your procedures for how you're going to process a recovery and then restart your database, hopefully in a state that has been recovered. The first option would be disk mirroring. If you're familiar with RAID 10, that's what disk mirroring is. So essentially, you would have an exact copy of all of your hardware. So you'd have, if you had, you would need twice as much equipment as you would normally need. For disk mirroring, because you'd have to have an identical copy of your database management system on two machines. And if that machine is exclusively used to handle all of your data processing needs, you would need two of them. So very, very expensive, but the recovery process for when one of the systems goes down is to simply switch to the identical database. Zero downtime. So this is really what you would need for a 24/7 type of operation. You absolutely have to have disk mirroring. You can process a restore and rerun. You can do your restoration and then rerun or reprocess transactions against the backup, which again we'll talk about in a few moments. You have to test for transaction integrity, which means you have to commit or abort all the transactional changes that have been made that are in your transaction log. You need to do a backward recovery. You need to roll back. So you go to your before images and bring them up, then apply all of your transactions to do what's known as a forward recovery. This is preferable to the restore and rerun process. So we'll take a look at that. First of all, let's just talk about what a transaction is. You have to remember, and again, this was covered back in IT 117, a transaction is atomic, it's consistent, it's isolated, and it's durable. So durable means that they're permanent. So that means once a transaction has been committed, regardless of whether it was actually written to disk yet, it needs to be taken out of during recovery. It needs to be taken out of the transaction log and reprocessed. So it exists in the database after the database has been recovered. So if we're looking at the rollback process, so first of all, we need two things to do this. We need the database. So we had the database with changes, and then we've got before images. So something bad happened, right, to the database with changes. So we have to apply the before images, and then we then have the database management system. So we apply those two things to the database management system, and now we have the database without its changes. Okay, because there's been some kind of crash. We want to go back to what the database looked like prior to the changes. Then we do a roll forward. So what we do is we take that database that we just created without the changes, then we apply our after images to the database management system, and then on the other end of that we get our database with changes. Should be a fairly quick process, hopefully. And then of course after we have that database with changes, all sorts of testing has to be done to ensure that everything is as it should be. But again, that is beyond the scope of this course. So that ends my video lecture on the recovery and restart procedures.